Maya Chun had learned to make herself invisible long before she turned 16. At Riverside Preparatory Academy, invisibility was survival. She kept her head down in the pristine hallways, lined with oak lockers and trophy cases that gleamed under fluorescent lights. The school smelled of floor polish and expensive cologne, a constant reminder that she didn't belong in this world of trust funds in summer. Homes in the Hamptons thought her scholarship was her shield and her scarlet letter. She was brilliant, a national merit finalist with a perfect grade point average. But none of that mattered in the social hierarchy of Riverside Prep. What mattered was that her mother cleaned houses for a living, that her clothes came from thrift stores, and that she rode the city bus 40 minutes each way to attend a school where her classmates arrived in BMWs. Their parents bought for their 16th birthdays. Maya sat alone at lunch, her tray positioned carefully at the corner table near the emergency exit. She ate quickly, methodically, keeping her eyes on her biology textbook. She had trained herself not to look up, not to make eye contact, not to invite attention. The cafeteria buzzed with conversation and laughter that never included her. She was furniture, background noise, easily ignored dot until Brianna Westbrook decided she was worth noticing. Brianna was everything Maya was not. Blonde hair that fell in perfect waves, skin that glowed from expensive spa treatments, and a smile that could charm teachers into extending deadlines or overlooking plagiarism. She was the daughter of a state senator, captain of the volleyball team, and the unofficial queen of Riverside Prep. When Brianna spoke, people listened. When she laughed, others joined in. When she decided someone was beneath her, they became untouchable dot. It started small. A comment dropped casually in a PE English class when Maya answered a question about symbolism in The Great Gatsby. "Of course Maya gets it," Brianna said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "She probably relates to the struggling outsiders trying to fit into a world they don't belong in." The class had laughed uncomfortably. Maya had felt her face burn but said nothing. Then came the social media posts. Someone created a fake account using Maya's name and photos stolen from her sparse online presence. The account posted desperate messages begging to be included in parties, offering to do homework for popular kids in exchange for friendship. Maya reported it, but by the time it was taken down, the screenshots had circulated through the entire junior class. The humiliation was complete and permanent dot in the hallways. Students she'd never spoken to would make pitying faces or whisper as she passed. "That's so sad," they'd murmur loud enough for her to hear. "She seemed so lonely." The mockery wore the mask of sympathy, making it impossible to confront. The bullying evolved into something more insidious. Brianna was too smart to leave obvious fingerprints. She orchestrated Maya's isolation with surgical precision, weaponizing social dynamics like a master chess player. When Maya tried to join the debate team, suddenly all the spots were filled, even though the coach had sent an email the week before saying they needed new members. When she volunteered for the student council fundraiser, her assignment was mysteriously given to someone else at the last minute. Group projects became exercises in humiliation. Partners would communicate in group chats that somehow Maya was never added to, leaving her scrambling to catch up. When she asked for information, she received one-word responses or was told to figure it out yourself. Teachers noticed nothing. To them, Maya was the quiet, competent student who always turned in excellent work. They didn't see the lonely lunch hours or the way other students shifted away from her in the hallways, like she carried some contagious disease. The worst part was the silence. No one openly mocked her anymore. That would have been easier to fight against. Instead, she existed in a bubble of polite exclusion. People smiled when forced to interact with her, but never invited her anywhere. They said hello but never started conversations. She was treated like a ghost who'd forgotten she was dead. Maya's mother noticed her daughter growing quieter, more withdrawn. "Are you making friends at that fancy school?" she'd ask in her accented English, tired from scrubbing other people's floors. Maya would smile and lie, not wanting to burden the woman who'd sacrificed everything to give her this opportunity. The senior college fair was supposed to be Maya's moment to shine. She'd been invited to present her research project on sustainable urban agriculture to representatives from MIT, Stanford, and Yale. She'd worked for months on the presentation, perfecting every slide, rehearsing every word. This was her ticket out, her proof that she belonged in their world because of her mind, not her bank account. The morning of the presentation, Maya arrived early to set up in the school auditorium. Her laptop contained her entire presentation, 3 years of research and data compiled into 40 meticulously crafted slides. She left it on the podium while she went to print backup notes from the library. When she returned 15 minutes later, the laptop was gone. Panic seized her throat. She searched frantically, asking anyone nearby if they'd seen it. No one had. The presentation was in 2 hours. All her backup files were on that computer. Her hand shook as she tried to access her cloud storage from a school computer, only to find her account had been locked due to suspicious activity. Someone had tried to log in repeatedly with the wrong password, triggering the security protocol. She found her laptop 30 minutes before her presentation time, tucked behind a garbage can in the second-floor bathroom. The screen was shattered, the keyboard sticky with what looked like soda. When she powered it on, everything was gone, wiped clean. 3 years of work vanished. Maya stood before the college representatives with nothing. She tried to speak from memory, but her voice cracked. She could see the pity in their eyes, the uncomfortable shifting as she fumbled through an explanation about technical difficulties. It was humiliating and heartbreaking and utterly devastating. What Maya didn't know was that someone had been watching. Not just that day, but for months. James Morrison was the school's IT director, a quiet man in his 50s who everyone assumed was just another invisible adult moving through the hallways. He'd worked at Riverside Prep for 20 years, maintaining the school's network, fixing crashed computers, and observing the way privilege corrupted young minds. He'd noticed Maya early in the school year when she'd politely asked for help recovering a corrupted file. She'd thanked him sincerely, not with a dismissive nod most students gave support staff. He'd started paying attention after that, observing the subtle cruelties enacted against her. He'd seen the social media campaign, watched the systematic exclusion, noticed the way certain students seemed to delight in her isolation. James had learned long ago not to interfere in student social dynamics. It was a losing battle. But when he'd seen Brianna Westbrook slip into the auditorium that morning, when he'd watched her take Maya's laptop and hide it, something in him snapped. He'd retrieved the security footage immediately, backing it up to his personal drive. He'd also recovered Maya's files from the laptop before it had been wiped, thanks to the automatic backup protocol he'd installed on all school devices. But James Morrison knew that evidence alone wouldn't be enough. Brianna's father was a powerful man with powerful friends. The school administration would find ways to minimize, to explain away, to protect their golden student. He needed something bigger. He needed leverage that couldn't be ignored. So he'd made a phone call to an old friend, someone who understood that sometimes justice required unconventional methods. Someone who dedicated his life to protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. 3 days after the college fair disaster, Maya received an email from an address she didn't recognize. The subject line read, "You are not alone." She almost deleted it, assuming it was spam or another cruel prank. But something made her open it. Inside was a single sentence and an attachment. "They wanted you to disappear. We're going to make sure everyone sees you instead." The attachment was a video file. With trembling fingers, Maya downloaded and opened it. What she saw made her gasp. It was security footage from multiple angles showing Brianna taking her laptop, hiding it, and later accessing the school computer system to lock Maya's cloud account. The video was damning, irrefutable proof of sabotage. But there was more. The email contained links to a private investigation report detailing a pattern of bullying orchestrated by Brianna against 3 other scholarship students over the past 2 years. Screenshots of group chats where Brianna and her friends mocked Maya, planned their campaigns of exclusion, and celebrated each small victory. Maya's phone rang. The number was blocked. She answered hesitantly. "Hello, Maya," a male voice said, warm but firm. "My name is David Cordero. I'm a friend of James Morrison from your school. I run a nonprofit that advocates for bullying victims. We'd like to help you, if you're willing to fight back." Maya's throat tightened. "I don't want revenge," she whispered. "I just want it to stop." "This isn't about revenge," David said gently. "It's about justice. It's about making sure this never happens to another student. But I won't do anything without your permission. This has to be your choice." Maya thought about the broken laptop, the lonely lunches, the 3 years of invisible torture. She thought about her mother's sacrifices and her own dreams slipping away. "What do I need to do?" she asked, her voice growing stronger. The school board meeting was packed. Parents, students, and local media filled every seat in the district conference room. The agenda included routine budget discussions and facility updates, nothing that would typically draw a crowd. But word had spread through carefully orchestrated whispers that something significant was about to happen. Maya sat in the front row, her hands folded in her lap. She wore her best dress, the one her mother had bought for her grandmother's funeral. Beside her sat David Cordero, a man in his 40s with kind eyes and an impressive resume of advocacy work. Behind them sat James Morrison and 3 other students, scholarship kids who'd suffered under Brianna's reign. When the public comment period arrived, David stood. "I'm here to address a pattern of systematic bullying at Riverside Preparatory Academy," he began, his voice carrying clearly through the microphone. The room fell silent. For the past 3 years, a group of students led by Brianna Westbrook has engaged in targeted harassment of scholarship students, sabotaging their academic work and orchestrating campaigns of social exclusion. Superintendent Harris tried to interrupt. "These are serious allegations without substantiation." David smiled calmly. "I have substantiation." He nodded to James, who connected a laptop to the projection system. The security footage played on the large screen at the front of the room. Every detail was visible. Brianna taking the laptop. Brianna accessing the school computer system with a stolen administrator password. The gasps from the audience were audible, but David wasn't finished. He presented the investigation report, reading excerpts of group chat messages where Brianna discussed keeping the charity, cases in their place, and making sure they know they don't belong. Here, he showed documentation of how 3 previous scholarship students have left Riverside Prep mid-year, all citing mental health concerns, all after interactions with Brianna's social circle. Senator Westbrook sat in the back, his face growing redder with each revelation. The aftermath was swift and comprehensive. Brianna Westbrook was expelled from Riverside Preparatory Academy. Her college acceptance to Princeton was rescinded after the school sent documentation of the bullying. Senator Westbrook faced awkward questions from reporters about his daughter's behavior and his own failure to notice the pattern of cruelty. The family's golden reputation tarnished overnight. But more importantly, the school board implemented sweeping changes. They hired a full-time counselor specializing in bullying prevention, created an anonymous reporting system with real oversight, and established a scholarship student support program with dedicated mentorship. James Morrison was promoted to Director of Student Safety, a newly created position with real authority to investigate and address harassment. Maya's research project was recovered from James's backup files. She gave her presentation to the college representatives in a special makeup session arranged by the superintendent. MIT offered her a full scholarship with a generous stipend. Stanford and Yale followed with their own offers. She had choices now, possibilities, a future that stretched out before her filled with promise instead of pain. On the last day of senior year, Maya stood on the auditorium stage as valedictorian, looking out at her classmates. Many of them had ignored her suffering, but some had reached out after the board meeting to apologize, to admit they'd been cowards. She didn't accept all their apologies, but she acknowledged their attempts at growth. "I learned this year that silence is complicity," Maya said in her speech. "When we watch someone suffer and do nothing, we become part of their suffering. But I also learned that there are people who will stand up, who will fight for justice, even when it's uncomfortable or risky. I'm here today, not because I was strong enough to survive alone, but because someone saw my pain and decided to act. That's the lesson I'll carry forward. We all have the power to be that person for someone else." In the back of the auditorium, David Cordero and James Morrison stood together, watching. They didn't need recognition or praise. They'd simply done what was right, what was necessary. They'd turned on the lights in a dark corner and exposed the cruelty festering there. Maya caught their eyes and nodded once, a gesture of profound gratitude. Then she stepped down from the stage and walked into her future, no longer invisible, no longer alone, finally free. The bullying had tried to break her. Instead, it had revealed her unbreakable spirit and brought warriors into her corner who refused to let injustice win. Sometimes, the greatest strength isn't surviving the storm, but having the courage to ask for help, weathering it.